whenever you're ready. Okay. All right, we're starting a little bit late, 7:09. This is the November 21st City Council Workshop meeting. Sorry, call to order. And the first thing on the agenda is the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nate, if you could start us out.
Heavenly Father, we pray for your wisdom and guidance over our meeting tonight. We pray that you help us be the best servants to our city we can be. We pray that everything we do will honor you. We ask for your continued blessings and favor over our city, our state, and this great nation. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen. First thing on our agenda today is, has everybody had the opportunity to review the council meeting minutes for October? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor. We brought up a few work sessions ago the Pendergrass Glen street acceptance. I wanted to bring that up one more time, just so we are planning on bringing that as the first read in November during our council meeting. And is there any other discussion that needs to be made as far as the acceptance of the Pendergrass Glen streets?
And this is to make sure that Pendergrass, that the city is taking care of the trash and sewage. And
they wouldn't be for trash. They would be able to take care of the streets itself, the curbing and the stormwater, as well as being able to enforce street parking ordinances on those streets.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Next thing on our agenda, we all were given a separate copy for Mr. Hacker is going to talk about kennel proposition for his residents. At this time, Nathan, if you want to approach and discuss the kennel options, we can kind of go from there. We all have pointed out, so you just tell us what page we need to be looking at and explain each page to us. We can go from there, okay?
Alright, first let's go to the first title, whatever, or second after the title. Kennel information sheet, title on the header. The first few pages of these are just statistics that goes along with the kennel stuff. I've been in contact with the Georgia Department of Agricultural and getting the informational base as best I can for them, and they require a license in order to do a kennel. Then they go ahead and give us the required information on what they need, and then any emergency contact is optional. So if we, with this proposal for a dog kennel, will be regulated by the Georgia Department of Agricultural. So we will not just be doing it all by ourselves. We'll not just be willy-nilly. At any point in time, they can come in and say, hey, we want to check this out to make sure you're in compliance. On the next sheet, where it says kennel licensing, we're going to be just talking about the proof of citizen legal residency to apply in order to be a kennel managed kennel license. We have the links to the regulations, and we'll need the license. We own and establish other than animal shelter. Where we're going to be boarding or holding the animals for a fee. And so part of the kenneling process is we're going to have these animals. We're going to be collecting a fee in order to run a small little business kind of thing out of it for that. And like I said, we're going to be regulated, so the fees, lights are only good for 1 year. So if the council has hesitation or whatever else, it could still be a provisional for 1 year or something that we can provide this. Then we can go ahead and have that. And then depending on the next year and see how things go from there. The next page where it says apartments that will affect. So one of the things is within 5 miles of Pendergrass, there's the Blakely, Hardin, Terrace, and Maple Square. And then outside 10, 12 miles away, there's a lot more apartments that have that. And so there's a lot of places that these pets are cooped up all day. And a lot of people around here are working. So we're trying to give that ability and the opportunity for the people to allow their pets to have a day out in fun, having play, instead of being cooped up inside all day. Next one, statistics survey 2022 showed that 54% of Americans own at least one dog. 2023 showed that it's increased to 66, and in Georgia, it's 51% of people that own at least one dog in the state. So there's a lot of people out there with dogs, and a lot of people that are working these days. Next one is just the regulation again, and the standard that goes along with the requirements for owning and operating a kennel. So the general qualifications and the standards are record keeping. And so one of the things that when I talked to the agriculture department about them coming over was they come through, and when they inspect the premises or anything like that, we need to have the documents readily accessible. And part of the documents of having the dogs that do come over to stay are going to have all their shots and records. And there's a certain list of rabies shots and required shots at once, but we're going to extend that on to the extra shots that aren't requirements. And so you can see those shot lists in the contract I've made on that separate sheet. That's that contract. You'll see the list of shots that I added on there. So on that, we're going to require all those shots to be there. And so at any point in time that Georgia Agricultural Department or their Jackson County operation want to come through and say, knock on the door, come through and say, hey, we need to see these documents, we need to be ready to go and hand them to them. And then again, they're going to inspect the premises. And part of the stuff with them inspecting premises to facilitate a kennel is coming through and making sure that there's a place for the dog to have shelter, a place for food, and a place that they're fenced in properly. They're not requiring a cage like everything's kennel. You got a small little area for them to go into. They're not expecting them. They can free roam as much as you can, kind of thing. And their big thing is that they said part of their inspection, come over, dump the water somewhere in a spot, and see how well it absorbs or stays in puddles, and then they base their judgment off that to facilitate you allowing you to have that kennel license. The next page, just a picture of our dogs. See, one of the big things, we've been here 4 years, and we really haven't had that issue really with our dogs. We haven't heard any complaints or had the cops knocking on the door from us. Our oldest, Peaches, she just passed this past year. And then Thor's our wife's top dog now. He's actually a therapy dog to some other dogs. A buddy of mine had a dog that visited for a little bit, and after visiting, she actually became very social, kind of thing. And then Copper, our youngest, she was dumped out here. And so we took her in just to facilitate, help somebody out, and we just wound up keeping her as a rescue because nobody claimed her. And so she's really high energy, I like to play. She barks for us. And then Minnie, he plays around. The yellow is the animal lovers. That we just show our dogs that we love our dogs, we love animals. They don't like to be cooped up. Dogs want to be in a pack, they want to have fun. So we try to facilitate that. The one thing is our property is situated downtown. There's going to be a lot of properties coming through here, a lot of apartments, everything else. And we want to be able to facilitate a kennel downtown. And our house is the historical part of Pendergrass. And the upkeep and the maintenance, I work from home now, and I try to do my best to do what I can with the house, keep it up. And so I'm just looking for an extra income in the sense to facilitate the upkeep of the house, because I'm failing. I'm turning 80 before 40. So I'm trying to use this to keep that history going and help the community around. And one of the things we did last year is we did Rover for a while because we thought that was a big gimmick thing to do. And that's when we found out we were unable to do we found out it was considered a kennel because we were collecting a fee for watching these dogs. And at that time we helped out a lot of dogs and facilitated a lot of people and helped them out. But we wound up getting shut down because of that. And so that's why I'm approaching you guys now to see about working to this kennel operation now to do it right and do it properly. And then last one, the breakdown of operations. With me being home and the wife being home, we're going to be there practically 24/7. There's going to be times we got to go out, a couple hours, whatever else. We're just looking for a couple dogs per day and overnight possibly. We're not looking at a whole bunch because one thing is with the licensing program operation is if you pay for $100, they do it from $1 to $100. They don't have a breakdown, so I would have to pay the license fee for that. But we're not looking for something crazy that many. We're just looking for a couple more to help out. With the noise ordinance in the town, we know it's going to get congestion, a lot more people moving downtown and everything else. When it comes down to that, if our dog or any dog becomes a problem, especially at night, we'd have no trouble bringing them in, locking them up, because our dogs and those dogs would have free roam from coming inside now. All we have to do is shut the doggy door, and they don't have access to outside. We'll take them out to get a leash if they need to use the restroom or anything else. Sanitation under the section, we'll be just collecting and throwing in the trash like anything else. So in our yard, we've got about an acre, almost a quarter acre that's going to be fenced into the dogs. That's more than most of these dogs get to roam free anyway. A lot of times, especially in the apartments, single-family homes, they're going to have access to food, to have water and shelter in the house. They're just going to be able to free roam back and forth. The kennel stuff, like I said, they don't need caged areas, but we will have a spare room if a dog becomes a problem and has an issue with anything, so we can segregate them from everybody else. And eventually, if we can grow this and we can afford it, we would like to plan on looking at future property to actually grow it and become a dog kennel / rescue. And because there's a lot of animals out here that do get abandoned, get trapped. Like recently, we just picked up an abandoned kitten. Somebody decided to drop it off and hang it somewhere else. So we're trying to support the dogs, the community, as well as that. And then, any questions?
Please. How many pets are you planning to hold?
Times 2, 3 at the most.
At a time, but I mean, let's say that obviously this is a dog neighborhood and people are going to want to count their dogs. Are you going to have some kind of a shed, maybe like some different types of sheds in the backyard for the dogs so that they can work, they can go in and out?
No, the indoor in and out is going to be the house.
Inside the house?
Yeah. And we're going to schedule, like I said, we want to just keep it small. We don't need to cram everything in. So we would base everything on a schedule. If somebody wants a dog to come over every day of the week while somebody else does, as long as we're not breaking 2 to 3 or so dogs, we don't want to break that number. We want to keep it small.
Cool.
Because we have our 3 dogs already.
Right.
And put more in there, we don't want to disrupt the neighborhood.
So would you be willing to put in a max, like go ahead and state a maximum number?
Yes.
And then, are you looking at long-term stays, short-term stays, both?
Both, because there be times like, call it Thanksgiving time. People want to go out of town for the weekend, and they don't want to leave their pets behind or anything like that. We might have to still take a few days like that. At the most, maybe a week.
I'm not worried about the people going on vacation. I'm talking about like, I was with Great Dane Rescue for 3 years. And again, a lot of times you'll have rescue groups where they will pay kennels or pay certain people to house the pets. And that can be issue, it can be an opportunity, it can also be an issue. Hey, I'm a dog person, I love this, I just want to make sure that your neighbors are going to be okay with it, and then that the dogs are going to have the best care possible, which I think they will. I think it's a great idea. I just want to make sure that safety is in place. So like, you're disabled and your wife is there and she's working from home, or you have another person on set somewhere to be able to help, like vet tech or something like that, or somebody that's got that training.
No, we are just doing it ourselves. But like with the long term and the rescue stuff, I've never looked into that or heard of that stuff.
Okay.
And one of the big things with the dogs and the nature, what we learned from Rover, was one of the provisions we're going to have in our contract, you can see it on there, was ensuring the point that the animal is fixed. Because Georgia doesn't educate owners very well on fixing and neutering and spading animals. Not just because of the animal population, because it changed their dominant trait. And so one of the things we learned was we had a dog over from Rover. This family moved out, went out of town for a week. Couldn't get a hold of them in another country. Their dog decided to dominate another dog. And so we facilitated and took the dog to the emergency room because they got the chunks took out of them. And we were maintaining that dog and taking care of him in cooperation with the vet that was nearby. And so we take him and handle it. And we would try to segregate him as best we can, kind of thing. But that dog was not fixed. So he just wanted to try to dominate whatever. Right. But it's part of our stuff that we have in our contract. We want to make sure the owners understand and aware that we need your vet information. If there's an emergency, we need you to get us on tap. We're going to be in contact with those owners as well and everything else.
But you've got a vet on call that you guys use for your dogs, right?
Well, the ones we use Magnolia, yeah.
Are they 24/7?
No. And so the ones we either do is, there's one in Brownston that we have, and then there was one down at UGA that we would wind up doing. Kind of thing.
Be careful because your insurance is going to go through the roof on this. But the guy who probably tell you all about that. He's going to know about the insurance side and the liability. I think it's great if it comes together the right way.
Yeah.
Got a question?
Yeah, please.
Talk pretty loud. Can you tell me about the, when you say 24/7 monitoring, are you going to have some kind of video system out there?
Yes,
A dog getting a fight or somebody steals a dog? Or?
Yeah, currently there are cameras on that.
There are cameras all in the backyard?
Yeah. And I'm going to continue upgrading those as well.
Okay. And have you, you said you're going to be fencing in the yard, or do you have a fence?
Already have it fenced in.
You already have it fenced in. And so when people drive by or walk by your house, will they see a bunch of dogs out there?
No.
Okay.
Because currently the only portion of the fence that actually sticks out is kind of covered in bushes.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing, so it does block. And if I had to put more bushes up to block it, I can.
Okay.
So it blocks the view from it all.
How high is your fence?
It is 4 feet.
You're going to need at least 7 feet. Right, Dave? I mean, I'm pretty sure about that. I mean, just for large breed dogs, you need at least 7 feet high. And like not chain fence, but like wood fence.
As you're talking about for protection against getting out.
Yeah. And people getting in. Kids getting in and the police getting in.
Yeah, something else.
Yeah.
So, in that regard, and just playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, is there a maximum size dog at this point with that size fence? And I'm not a dog person, Nathan, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But a German Shepherd or a Great Dane, they can walk over a 4 foot. But if we're talking about smaller breed dogs or even on the smaller side of medium-sized dogs, would that kind of fit in that line at that point?
A 4 foot fence, I mean, honestly, any dog over 80 pounds could probably jump over it.
That's a mid to large at that point.
Floor, our biggest is 105 pounds. And he has been just fine in that fence. Maybe it's a 5 pound. I don't know. I'll have to double check the fence size. But is there going to be a legal requirement with that then to have that fence size?
I think there is, so you're going to have to check on that.
Yes.
Just for single.
Yeah, I'd say one thing too. You just, I'm more thinking about your neighbors. I'm not sure if they want to see all that. So I don't know if you're going to be able to have the fence up or have it where it's covered. We're not seeing all these dogs in the backyard. I mean, I know you say they're not going to be able to see them, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not going to keep the dogs in all the time either.
Yeah.
They're going to be outside and stuff like that.
It's not like it's gonna be a mass horde of dogs or anything else. Like I said, it might be an average 2 or 3 at the most.
I guess I'm just going back to what Bob said. You might say 2 or 3, but when these rescues come to you and say, hey, we've got a truck here full of 3 or 4 or 5 dogs, are you just going to turn them away?
And they're paying you $300 per dog per month, I mean, and you've already got 3, by the way. Peach is adorable. I'm really sorry that she passed away. But just know, from 3 to 10, it gets loud.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things my wife and I are concerned with the growth of that stuff, and so that's why we would push for 2 to 3 at the most in this sense, because even a rescue comes in, money to us ain't that important kind of thing. I was recently working at a job making $85,000+ a year and got fired because the boss, a dick basically, but I could have worked in other places, but I took that time to just concentrate on my health right now. And we've been living off my VA disability. We've been able to figure it out. So
I love this idea. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I want to encourage you to do this the right way. But I would still recommend that you find another space around here, so that way you can build it like you want it to be, where it's going to be more compliant and safer. I mean, if it's a matter of 8-foot tall fence and making sure that it's soundproof, things of that nature, that's a big deal with security. But like when you're doing it in your home, you get a lot more compliance issues, and I mean that's opening you up to a lot of liability stuff. So just think about that. But again, talk to your insurance guy, and then talk to Gabe.
yeah, the compliance and everything else, even running a kennel is going to be, besides controlled by complaints, I'm sure, by anybody that wants to complain, but the Georgia Agricultural Department and the Jackson County local, they're going to be here on top of me and making sure I'm doing everything accordingly if I have an issue.
Have you checked to see how much liability limits you need to carry? Because your homeowners probably going to cover that. So you're going to need a commercial general liability policy to cover that. Probably going to be $1 million, $2 million or more. I don't know. I'm not sure what they require to stay.
I think it's probably $3 million.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as urine and fecal matter and all of that stuff, how is that going to be handled so that it doesn't smell and permeate down the street or across the street or any of it? Because, when you have several dogs peeing everywhere like that, it can get odoriferous at times. So how do you plan to, handle that part of things?
If it becomes, the fecal matter is usually cleaned up and thrown away, just like they do at dog parks and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
For the urine stuff, if it becomes a problem, then I would look into what I can do to spray the yard down, ensure that it's clean and rinsed out as best I can. Ensure that neighbors aren't going to be bothered by that smell or any issues with that.
Nathan, for the overnight, if we have overnight pets, will they be, is there a place in your home, or is there a place that they stay inside at night, or will they be out at night?
They'll be inside. The whole premise on this, the dog has free access to the inside and out. So at any point they want to come in and out of the house, they have that ability.
So you, the setup inside, will they have put them in a cage at night, or a room, separate room?
If the owner, a lot of times owners have that where they are kennel trained. If the dog is kennel trained, then we can facilitate that. But normally we just let them lie wherever they want to lie.
Do we have any other questions? So, just a recap from my side. I think there's some questions that are being asked, and maybe we need some more follow-up on.
Yep.
From what I'm hearing from everybody else, though, is I'm not hearing a no. I'm hearing a let's do a little bit more.
Yep.
And find those solutions, which only seems to be a few at this point. And if we can find solutions to these issues, I think a discussion of a provisional zoning, a temporary provisional zoning, could possibly happen.
Also, you own the house, right?
Yes.
Is this, like, you said it was a historic house? Is that like the historic house?
It's not
It's not registered.
It's not a registered.
Okay, gotcha.
Historic. So it's a house of history.
Yes.
I'd be interested to know, the specifics of the insurance too, like what is your, what the liability limits are, the minimum, what protection, like if the dog gets out, bites a neighbor, the medical costs, all that. I'd be interested in the specifics of that commercial policy. Can get that.
Nathan, before you step down, do you want to say anything else?
No.
Okay. I appreciate you. You guys thrilled?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I apologize. I wanted to be confident.
No. It's okay. I mean, this is the whole point of it, is to be able to have this conversation and that discussion. And I just appreciate everybody being able to discuss it. Next on our agenda item is going to be garage sales. Our garage sale amendment, which we've already brought up once before. And the only reason why I have this on the working session agenda again is to ensure that we are still in agreement. We are bringing this up to what our land use code has to say. We're going up to 3 yard sales per location, and it'll be Monday through Sunday on the amendments to that ordinance. Is there any other discussion that needs to be made?
3 per year?
3 per year.
We included renters in it as well.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. And also any home occupiers. All right. Our next thing on the agenda is going to be the mobile food truck ordinance. So that again is a recap. And one of the big items that we changed with that is we will not accept any food trucks that do not have a posted health score of at least an 80 or above. We might go by 8 signs. Those are a couple of the amendments that we made that particular ordinance before it's brought to the council as a first read. Is there any other discussion that needs to happen with the whole food truck? The last thing on our agenda is I just wanted to have a minute to be able to discuss our upcoming zoning and turn off my mic and come down here to formally address the council, all that we have. One of the biggest projects, the purpose of this project is one, to bring the small business leaders that want to invest in their own community to have a spot for them to do so. The town square is great and it's coming along nicely. Development is happening. Those lots are fairly expensive. And so we're going to have larger chains at that point that are going to be established in there. I'm a big proponent of small business. I think most of us here are as well. And so we need to have a wonderful opportunity for these small business owners to be able to have a smaller footprint storefront to be able to interact with the community. As city residents and community residents, this helps create that. So in the 3 buildings that we would create downtown, 2 of those such buildings, in Building B and Building C, would then have ground floor retail. With that ground floor retail, we're really trying to promote a walkable, safe, lit downtown, somewhere where our community can congregate on a day-to-day basis. Our town square will promote a wonderful town green with amphitheater that we can do local community type events, our movie in the lawns, and things that are small scale. But on our day-to-day, we don't have anywhere to call a community center or a place of gathering. And that's what this is for. And so we can meet up at noon for lunch with our friends and colleagues and peers. We can come in our evening and walk to this downtown area from almost every neighborhood in our community. This becomes walkable in almost every sense of the word for nearly every resident in our city. Sidewalks, wide sidewalks, plenty of parking, and a type of consumer that's willing to shop local. These residents that live in these buildings are high-end residents. They're paying a very high rate to be able to be a part of this. And this is married with the secondary project. The secondary project goes on 332. And just to make clear, our secondary project across from the Brooks Village subdivision has additional units, apartment units there. But the majority of this 22 acres is going to be deeded over and be owned by the city, as well as with a parking lot street and a brand new city hall, with future plans of being able to incorporate multiple buildings in our complex, so a city hall, a courtroom, as well as a library and a police department. And in the future, an EMS department and fire station, if that so fits. But this main green space area is meant to serve our community as a large-scale avenue for us to be able to hold festivals and events and community events for all of us in a community. Our 4th of July celebrations, any future celebrations and festivals we choose to have in the future. We finally have an avenue and a space that's adequate for the population size that we have. Do we have, yeah.
So you said 22 acres is going to be deeded to the city out of that?
No. This total property is 22 acres.
Okay.
So the remainder of that property, of that 22 acres,
Do we know
whatever
what
they
that's
don't,
gonna be?
roughly 12. You
Okay.
can estimate plus or minus in the 12 range. The apartments that are going to be built with this community will have a maximum amount of 300 apartments. So that's not what the number is now, but they cannot exceed 300 units. And that's for both the development across from Brooks, as well as the downtown where we're sitting currently. In addition to this project, we're also bringing a rezoning to add 70 townhomes down 332. It's my opinion that this corridor that we're creating in this Main Strip downtown area will be accented by this corridor of townhomes. They fit the same design, the same aesthetics that the downtown is bringing. And because of that, I think it's going to accent and bring even more of these high retail purchasing folks to this region, to this area, to be able to shop locally in our city. That's also bringing sidewalks to bring them to be able to walk down, not just drive. As an aesthetic for the downtown, it is a modern flair, which incorporates a lot of historical value and textures. We want to bring what is new and mesh it with something that was once old. We don't want something that's an ultra-modern design to be able to overcome a lot of what are historical Jackson County heritages. We want to incorporate live green walls to soften the type of textures that we have on our walls. We want to bring the ghost bright and murals, different accents of metalwork, to be able to bring in a type of culture and aesthetic to really highlight what we have. Going across the street from the downtown area, from Brooks Village, this is the basic design of our city hall and what we're going to start out with. Eventually, we hope to have a secondary building that's identical to this, only mirrored on the opposite side of that property to house our police department. And eventually we'll have a design that's very similar, except 2 stories to be able to house our city hall and our library. This elevation is for the apartment complex and the units that will be next to the Blakely across from Brooks Village. It's an elevated product. Very, very nice. Anybody have any other questions as far as this? Bob?
Wasn't there supposed to be a secondary road that they were going to put in on that green space?
So,
Not just one way in and out?
are we talking about this right here?
Yes. So right now, we've only got the one way in and out.
That's correct. So this is what we have, and this is a picture of what is guaranteed through the developer. Okay. So what we can do, we have the opportunity to do whatever we like with this property. However, I don't like to display things that we're not going to be guaranteed.
Correct.
In tandem, I'd love to build a police department, playground, a manicured green space for us to start using almost immediately. But I would like to deal in guarantees and not in wish lists.
Okay.
If the economy tanks tomorrow, you know, we have to just deal with what we got.
Sure. And that's guaranteed.
This
All
this is our guaranteed product.
Okay.
So the EMS and fire station would go into this corner, and they would have a cut directly into 332 then.
Right.
Any other questions?
Say it again.
I said, can you ask for more from them?
Can I ask for more? I'm a lot so far, but I guess
Well, I'm like, if Bob has said a secondary road,
yeah.
can they put it in the playground as part of the project?
There's been discussions. Part of that, the negotiations are coming to a close. So at this point. With that being said, I'm going to move on and take this out. And now I open up the floor to the public. If there's any public comment?
I guess I already did that. Sorry, Nick. I said ask for everything while you can.